Hey everybody, it's Allie and welcome to our Y&R chat for Sunday, August 14th, 2016. I'm going to start us off with a question. Maybe you guys can tell me. When did Kevin Fisher become such a weenie? This guy, I feel like I have a tendency to remember people how they were when they first came onto the show or when I was having formative impressions of them. So when I think of Kevin Fisher, I think about the guy who set Gina's restaurant on fire while Colleen was locked inside of the freezer. When Kevin Fisher came onto this show, he was a badass villain. And then they kind of revamped him, softened him up a little bit, made him repent a little bit. He became this computer whiz, kind of slick hacker, a little bit on the devious side, always kind of a troublemaker, but kind of cool in a way. And then the second he met Chloe, it was all downhill. And I'll admit, the whole Pretty in Pink thing had me at the time. It was very cute, but at some point along the way, he just became this puppy dog for her that she could just kick whenever she wanted. I hate seeing him be just such a weenie. I guess in it's really always, he's been Chloe's weenie. He's always been Chloe's weenie. And the second she got removed from the picture, he was still a little bit better, but now she's back and we're right back to Weenieville, and I'm tired of watching it. I literally feel embarrassed for him. I'm watching Kevin on my screen, just it's like watching a friend that you have get involved with a guy who you know is just not that into her. Chloe's just not that into you, Kevin. Sorry. He said this week, I wanted to die for him. He's trying to convince Mariah to help him get Chloe back, which I can't believe how incredibly inappropriate that is. I can't believe he would even think about asking Mariah to do that. It just speaks volumes about where his headspace is on the relationship of Kevin and Mariah, and his total cluelessness, total lack of self-awareness or awareness of other people's feelings to think that Mariah would be completely okay with that. To ask her to hook him up is so just gross. It's grotesque. I'm mad at him about it. And the second this sentence left his lips, I wanted to smack him across the face. He tells Mariah, Chloe just needs to be reminded that I'm her ducky. Why would you want to be anyone's ducky? I've seen Pretty in Pink, and yes, it's sort of, they ended up together, and she did, Molly Ringwald did pick the guy who was always there and always there for her, but in the end, it's also kind of obvious that she wanted the other guys. She wanted the guys that weren't the duckies of the world, and if Pretty in Pink had a sequel, Molly Ringwald probably would have gone on to pick one of the, another like jock or guy in college or wherever she goes off to next. I can't remember if it was a high school movie or if they were already graduated, but it's ridiculous that he would relegate himself to wanting to be somebody's ducky. It just reeks of desperation, and it's hard to watch. And it also really draws me into Mariah's conflict. I feel terrible for her. She loves Kevin, and whether or not there's a romantic element there, which there is, or for her anyway, it's obvious that she loves him in a friendship way, doesn't want him to get hurt. She really doesn't want to watch him do this to himself, doesn't want to see him get his heart broken, and she doesn't really want to tell him, look, I've talked to Chloe. She is not interested in pursuing a relationship with you. She has totally moved on, but but she kind of has to tell him the truth, at least try to talk some sense into him. And the only way that she can possibly jog any sense into him is by breaking it down so boldly and bluntly by saying, "You're an idiot, Kevin." She's not into you, and why don't you, for a change, just pick somebody who will actually love you back? Isn't that such a crazy concept, that you could just pick someone who would love you back? And when Mariah said that, Kevin had kind of an aha moment, and I thought to myself, oh, good. This has tanked, his weenie hood has tanked to a very, to a high. I guess it's skyrocketed to a high, and now maybe he's coming back down a little bit and balancing himself out. So all of a sudden, after Mariah gives him this reality check, a beautiful bouquet of flowers shows up at Chelsea Lawson Designs, where both Mariah and Chloe work now, and for a brief moment, I actually thought that Kevin came to his senses and had sent Mariah this beautiful bouquet of flowers as a thank you to her. When Mariah claims them immediately. She's saying, oh yeah, they're from Kevin, and even Chloe is admiring them, saying, oh, see, you guys are the couple. You and Kevin should be together. It's obvious. We started out as friends, me and him, and I think that's what's gonna happen to you guys too. As soon as Chloe leaves the room, Mariah reveals the card, and it was addressed to Chloe. Ugh. What is he thinking? First of all, what is he thinking? Second of all, I'm so sorry, Mariah. I am so sorry that this is the state of things, that you fell in love with someone who is so incredibly clueless. I felt so bad for her. She took the flowers home with her to Sharon's house, and Sharon was kind of, looking at the flowers, thinking at first that they were from Kevin, just like the rest of us did, then realizing that Mariah had actually kind of stolen the flowers from Chloe. I'm sure, not selfishly. I mean, I'm interpreting that action as, I gotta stop Kevin from making a fool of himself. I don't think it was Mariah trying to block any relationship from forming again between Chloe and Kevin. I think she truly wants to just save him from looking like a fool, although maybe he needs to look like a fool. Maybe he needs to throw himself at Chloe and have her smack him down. Maybe he needs to get that hard knock reality. I'm not sure if at this point Mariah really is doing him any favors by trying to make a little soft landing for him at this point. I think he needs some real reality. But I will say I enjoyed that it actually allowed for kind of a mother-daughter moment between Sharon and Mariah, which is yet another thing that I feel the fans have been asking for weeks and probably months now, and was this deep into our Mal Young new executive producer, lots of new stuff going on at YNR. We're finally getting it. It was nice to see Sharon and Mariah just sitting down, and Sharon helping Mariah talk through her feelings, and Mariah acknowledging that she does love Kevin and that she has been kind of waiting around for him to decide that he loves her back, and maybe it's just not working. I feel so terrible for her. I want more for Mariah. She even said, sometimes I just feel like I'm always going to be the third wheel, or like it's my place to be left out in the cold, and that just broke my heart. Screw Kevin. Seriously, Mariah deserves better. Even if Kevin comes around tomorrow and he's begging on Mariah's doorstep for her to take him in, I don't want her to do it. It's gonna take a long road of begging, and I don't even want to see Kevin begging. So to me, it's just left on this note of never gonna work out. And the only thing that I'm anticipating and actually looking forward to in this is Kevin getting his bubble burst about his precious Chloe, his little precious China doll, Chloe. Everyone is telling you, Kevin, that she doesn't love you. Everyone is telling you that she's bad news, including Michael, including Mariah, including Dylan. Kevin knows logically that it makes sense that Chloe would be the one to want revenge on Adam, and who would be the mystery woman. I mean, come on, working with Victor to frame Adam. So when is Kevin Fisher, my pyromaniac, wild guy, when is he gonna finally wake up and smell the smoke on this one? I'm so glad that Dylan is still pursuing the Chloe mystery woman angle, because it feels like Chloe has everyone else completely snowed. I'm glad that it didn't work on Adam though, and I'm glad that it's not working on Dylan. Dylan is very much on to Chloe. He wants Kevin to see it too, and I hope that that happens. But the major obstacle to Dylan actually having a chance to pursue Chloe and pursue this truth and find out what she's really been up to is Paul. Surprisingly, Paul is really throwing up major resistance to Dylan being involved in this investigation. And I guess on some level, I can see Paul's point. It felt sort of out of the blue last week when Dylan and Paul had their big blow up, but I felt like Paul did a better job of explaining himself this week by saying, look, Adam pled guilty. This case is closed. It would make more sense if Adam hired a private detective to pursue this case. You can't expect me to devote my limited GCPD resources. Lord knows what else the GCPD has to do out in this town. You can't expect Paul to dedicate those precious resources to a case that's already been closed. So I do understand where Paul is coming from, but I was really surprised when he suspended Dylan. Dylan said, I'm pursuing this on my own time. Don't even worry about it. And Paul said, no, if you can't work within the boundaries, if you don't understand where I'm coming from, then you don't have a place here on the GCPD. So you just take your probably paid leave and you go do something else, which is really just doing Dylan a favor by giving him some more time to pursue the Chloe case. So I suppose I should be thanking him. I'm glad that Dylan didn't take that as a way to give up, and I think that says a lot about Dylan's character. I'm glad that Michael's not giving up. He is still there trying to give Adam a pep talk through everything that he's going through. And by the way, I just think it's going to be a possible interesting little sideline that it sort of pits Michael and Kevin on opposite sides of this fence. Not only are Paul and Dylan at odds over the Adam's innocence issue and Chloe's involvement issue, but Michael and Kevin are on opposite sides of the fence here too. So I think it could be possibly interesting to see the two brothers maybe having an argument and going at it over this. But it's like pretty much the logical players in this, people who don't have an emotional investment, seem to realize that Chloe is the absolute most likely suspect here, and it feels pretty obvious to anybody who would be an onlooker. I was absolutely thrilled this week, and I got so many comments about this because I think you guys knew that I was going to be thrilled about it. We had this outdoor meeting in Chancellor Park between Chloe and Victor, which anybody could have walked up on. Luckily it was our guy Dylan who's on the case, but first of all, I have to say I was so happy to actually see The Young and the Restless filming an outdoor scene. it feels sometimes like they're listening to me. I really feel like, I don't know if maybe I'm channeling all of our voices on this, or what the deal is, but I was just so thrilled to actually have said, I want to see some actual outdoor scenes here, and then it just comes to fruition. And how beautiful was it? I think it's not something that's impossible to do. Obviously, Y&R is filmed in LA, and Genoa City is supposed to be in the Midwest, so they can't film outside in the winter, and expect us to believe that's in the Midwest. But they had this setup where it seemed they found a little nook that was kind of enclosed by some bushes, so you couldn't really see where they would have been, and they set up kind of it to make it look like it was Chancellor Park, and instead of it being on the soundstage where it would normally be, we had the benches and the sign and all of that outside. And I just thought, what another breath of fresh air. Right on the heels of our camping trip last week, now we're actually in the great outdoors of Genoa City. I can also understand why they don't do it more often, simply because you could tell it was a windy day. I mean, Chloe's hair was blowing all over the place, and you can pick up a lot of that wind on the mic, so I'm sure there are a lot of reasons why they don't normally do that, but it was a treat, and I certainly did appreciate it very much. Victor, I was like, I don't know why, but I think one of the shocking and surprising and most wonderful elements of that outdoor scene was the fact that Victor decided to wear his sunglasses, which I thought to myself, I mean, for as many times as we've actually seen Victor in outside, where he's supposed to be outside, he's not usually wearing sunglasses, and I thought to myself, is that an Eric Braeden thing, or did they give him the sunglasses? Because I can almost imagine Eric Braeden just being so happy to be outside filming that he probably had his own personal pair of sunglasses that he whipped out of his suit, put on his face, and he's like, ba-bam. Or it's possible he was thinking, hey, this will be the perfect way for Victor to conceal his identity. Nobody would recognize Victor Newman in sunglasses. Ooh, that was a hoot. It was fun. I gotta give Y&R a big thumbs up for trying these new things. You've got me, you guys. You've really got me. So Dylan sees the whole thing, and he approaches Chloe and Victor to find out what's going on. I mean, it wasn't exactly the best place for a clandestine meeting out in broad daylight, but they were there anyway. Dylan tried to ask them about it, and he did a good job, I thought, of trying to at least pretend that he was buying their whole cover story. They were really quick to say that, oh, they just had some other kind of argument, no big deal, we're definitely not conspiring together in this case that you're investigating. And Dylan just said, oh, okay, you know what, you're right, it's fine, it makes sense. And then he goes back and runs into Nikki and decides to keep up that lie with her and tells Nikki that he is totally giving up on the Adam case, the Adam lead. He's done following it, he's not getting anywhere, so he's gonna drop it. And he's saying that so that Nikki won't run back and tell Victor, which everyone knows she would do. But by the way, another big thumbs up for Y&R, giving the fans what they want. Nikki versus Sharon. That was really fun too. I mean, Nikki comes over to Sharon's house. Sharon doesn't even know that Dylan has been suspended from the force, so I'm imagining that Nikki really loved that she was the one to drop that bomb on Sharon, probably assuming that Sharon would already know that. It was a little bit surprising that she didn't, but I liked that. My favorite part was when Nikki called Sharon the human vacuum. She says, you are like a human vacuum sucking everyone in around you. I thought, well, that's actually probably not too far off from the truth. But Sharon gave as good as she got, because she told Nikki, you're blind, woman, that you think that Victor did not frame his own son. I mean, if you can't see the truth right in front of you, I pity you. You had a good sense moment where you thought you were going to divorce him, and then that just flew right out the window. So it's always fun to see them picking at each other because they're both kind of right. It's like Nikki and Sharon maybe know each other very well, and they're just not afraid to pull the punches. So it's always fun to see them actually go and tell up some truth, drop a truth bomb up in there. And I mean, all of that is gonna, like, all of Nikki's goodwill, everything that she's building up, the romantic dinners, the walks in the park, this life, I mean, that she thinks she has with Victor now, walking into his office this week saying, oh, I just love seeing you behind that desk, when she was so adamant about pulling him away from being behind that desk just a couple of months ago. That was her whole motivation for wanting to send him to prison. Now, all of a sudden, all of that is going to come crashing down when she finds out the truth that Victor is guilty of doing that, and it will come out eventually, whether it comes out and Victor goes to prison or it comes out and Nikki just finds out about it. It's going to explode, and I feel bad for Nikki when she has to learn that her husband has yet again, for the billionth time, been lying to her. If she had $1 for every lie that Victor has told, she would be the billionaire. One very interesting little twist that happened at the very end of this past week's show, Chloe goes to visit Victor in his office and finally admits to him that she did not, in fact, burn those diary pages. She's got them, she kept them as an insurance policy, and he says, well, fork them over. Here's what I'll do. You get to live with your daughter, you get to have this whole cloud taken out from over your head. You don't have to worry about losing her anymore. Give me the pages and I'll frame someone else for the whole thing that had to do with Adam, for framing Adam. I'll frame someone else for framing Adam. That's his MO. Let's just frame everybody. And Chloe says, all right, I'm ready to be done with this. She walks over to Victor's infamous portrait of himself. I should seriously get a portrait of myself to put behind, like a very fancy oil painting. I should have that up above my fireplace mantle. Shouldn't everybody, really? So she looks at the man, turns around, looks at his portrait, and goes and pulls those diary pages from right behind the portrait. They were there for who knows how long. She pulls them out, reveals them, which hands them over to Victor, which I tell you, I also don't totally understand. That surprised me a little bit, because whether the pages were there all along or they were there an hour ago, it showed that Chloe had the ability to just plant those there, call the cops, and then the cops would come rushing in and find the pages and assume that Victor was the one who framed Adam. So why didn't she do that? Maybe you guys can illuminate me on that. I don't understand why Chloe would fold a winning hand. She could have had Adam in jail and Victor in jail right next to him. Why didn't she do it? Is it fully because of her conscience? Did she decide that she feels badly enough about Connor not having his father in his life that she decided not to go through with that? I'm a little bit puzzled why Y&R would bring up that Chloe could have bested Victor Newman and put his ass in jail, and only to reveal later that she's not going to do it. Instead, someone else is going to take the fall. And I've got two ideas on this. Chloe does hand over the pages. So Victor is now just going to the second part of his plan to get Adam out of prison. Now, immediately, my very first thought was, oh crap, is Victor going to frame Dylan for this? Because just a couple of scenes earlier, Dylan was confiding in Sharon the fact that he is still pursuing Victor very seriously. And Sharon said to Dylan, and it was kind of haunting and kind of ringing, she said to him, hey, if Victor would go so far as to frame his own son for murder, then what will he do to you if he finds out that you're still working on this case? And it was only maybe a couple scenes later that Victor said, I'll just plant these on somebody else. So initially my thought was, oh no. Is he gonna frame Dylan for this? Because I don't know how the heck Dylan's gonna get out of it. It's gonna further get him into hot water with Paul. What on earth would that do to Dylan's reputation and his life? And he's going to have a whole bunch of other stuff that he's going to need to deal with. Plus, I'm still not convinced, I'm still not convinced that those diary pages don't say something about the paternity of Sully. I think those diary pages hold the key to more than one secret. But I got a lot of comments this week, and I think it also makes sense that the person Victor might be trying to frame here is Luca. That might very well be a more probable answer. Victor very much wants Luca out of the picture, and it would be a perfect way to do it. Luca knows Adam, and certainly I'm sure that there could be some sort of manufactured motive. Dylan wouldn't really have much of a motive to frame Adam, I suppose, other than just closing the case or something, but Luca definitely would have motive to want to frame Adam. So it may very well be that Luca's the one Victor's planning to frame. But you guys tell me, who do you think it is who will be the next victim in Victor's crosshairs? Before I get into Luca and Summer and that whole mess, I have to just take a slow moment here to note that Chelsea and Adam are not on the same page, not about Chloe, and also not about Connor. This week was Connor's birthday, and Chelsea is now being kind of forced into this position of feeling like a single mother, mostly because Adam is pushing her away. He's in prison, and he is, I think, trying to save Chelsea and Connor from a life of waiting for him and constantly fighting for him, and he just thinks that it may be in their better interest to go on with their lives without him. So he was very insistent last week and this week that he doesn't want Connor coming to the prison, which I can understand 100%. Doesn't mean that he doesn't love his son. In fact, he knows that it's Connor's birthday. He's sitting in prison and he's writing a sad letter to his son, while Chelsea is also at home hosting a sad birthday party. I mean, it's Connor's third birthday party, and Chelsea's just sitting there with a cake and Chloe and the other little girl, Bella. It was really, truly heartbreaking that this is a family who wants so desperately to be together, and they simply can't. So Chelsea decides, you know what? The very best birthday present that my son could ever have would be to see his father. And on some level, I'm sure that Chelsea believed that Adam really needed to see his son, and maybe that would give him a little boost of energy, the ability to go on and to continue to fight. So even though Adam told her, don't bring Connor here, she does it anyway. And I had a feeling right away that Adam was not going to be happy about it. But then as soon as Connor came into the room, Adam's face lit up. He was just thinking about Connor, and having the opportunity to actually see his son probably did recharge him and regenerate him. And they really were kind of bonding over, this is still our family. This is still a moment that matters. We're still three people that care about each other, and it was really, really touching. But then it all just turned on a dime. Like, all of a sudden, the fantasy just faded away of them being a normal family, and it turned into the reality that his son is sitting there and there are all of these lights and noises, and it's this place where a child really doesn't belong, and a place where he doesn't want his son to see him like that. And I think all of a sudden the fantasy faded away, the reality came in, and Adam just pulled away. And he all of a sudden completely closed up, and he pushed Chelsea away too, and was very resentful toward her and chastising her, saying, don't put our son in this position, and you should never have brought him here in the first place. And it really turned ugly. I mean, it was like Chelsea was so happy to have the idea, so happy to bring Connor there and to have him well received, and then all of a sudden it was just this absolutely crushing blow. low. And it's really putting a lot of strain on Adam and Chelsea's relationship. It's hard to have a relationship with someone who doesn't want to have a relationship with you, and it's hard to keep a family connected when you can't really see each other or have those moments to bond. So Adam and Chelsea are really hitting a rough patch here. And my poll question for you this week is, are Adam and Chelsea headed for a breakup? Are we just seeing the beginnings of the coming apart of these two people, or is it truly just a rough patch that they'll be able to get over as soon as Adam is out of prison and all of this is resolved? If you would like to weigh in on that question, yrchat.com is where you can cast a vote and leave your comments. Are Adam and Chelsea headed for a breakup? I think it would be really heartbreaking if that's the truth. And we saw the worst case scenario in Adam's mind this week as he has this kind of nightmare future dream. He's laying in his cell thinking, what if I never get out of this? What if the evidence that I'm looking for never comes to light? 20 years go by and I'm finally released from prison. What does life look like then if Chelsea and Connor continue on this trajectory, constantly fighting for me, constantly waiting for me? What does this do to them? And so Adam has this nightmare where he's an older man finally getting out of jail. Connor comes to pick him up, to take him home to what should be a wonderful homecoming party reunion with his wife, only Connor is obviously resentful toward him immediately. And the second Adam walks through the door of the condo, Chelsea is lying in a hospital bed, dying young for some reason, with the exact same haircut that she has now. Nothing's changed with the hair in 20 years. It's just a little grayer. But she's lying there in bed. And Connor has to reveal to Adam that she's dying. I mean, she's getting ready to die. And Adam is realizing that this course of action, his course of action has really caused all of this. I mean, he's sitting there like coming back just in time to watch his wife die, just like he did with his mother. I mean, he came back from college and his life in New York City to go back to the farm in Kansas to watch Hope die, and now here he is watching his wife die. He's in the same position as he was before, and he's in the same position in this nightmare future as Victor is with him now. Connor is incredibly hateful toward his father. He believes that Adam is the one who caused the Chelsea to die, or to cause her to become ill. So Connor is feeling the exact same resentment for Adam that Adam feels for Victor. And then in this nightmare future, Adam goes to Victor's office where Victor has I suppose recently died, or he has died at some point when Adam was in jail, and Adam is just sitting there looking at the picture saying everything he feels about the man that wants to call himself father. You were the worst thing that ever happened to me, to us, to everybody you've ever known. Victor thinks he's the savior of everyone, but Adam is looking at this portrait and telling him, you're the worst thing that's ever happened to us. I hope that you're rotting in hell right now. And he takes his foot and puts it right through that iconic painting. It was really dramatic. It was really intense. And I think it says a lot about the state of all of these relationships, certainly the state of Adam's mind. If Victor thinks that Adam is going to have even an iota of gratefulness toward Victor for getting him out of prison after Victor was the one who framed him and had him thrown in prison, then he has got another thing coming. Victor will probably be on the day that Adam finally does walk out of prison, which may very well be next week. It may be the week after that. I have a feeling it's going to be sooner than we think. But you know, as soon as Adam steps out of prison, Victor's going to be right there with a job offer. Or if it's not a job offer, then it's a job blackmail offer, which he may show Adam the pages and say, I'll give these to the police if you come back to Newman Enterprises. You think Adam is just going to roll over and accept that? Adam is going to be coming right out of the frying pan, and Victor's going to be the one who's getting thrown right into the fire. Summer's engagement to Luca is just eliciting so much warm and fuzziness. I can hardly contain myself. I mean, both Victor and Phyllis are being so supportive and so understanding, like a fox. Both of them are on the surface telling Summer they're so happy for her, welcoming Luca into the family, while Victor and Phyllis are actually working together secretly to break them up. I thought that was kind of an exciting idea. I think that Phyllis plus Victor against Luca could give these two kind of an opportunity to work together toward a common goal. I'm sorry that the whole Marco thing happened, obviously, but maybe is there any chance that these two could repair or at least find a way to get back into somewhat of a good grace? I mean, if Jack and Victor can stand to be in the same room, maybe there's a way that Victor can apologize and maybe Phyllis can forgive him, or I don't know. I wish that never would have happened. I wish that Phyllis never would have been victimized in this way. It makes Victor look so bad, and I wish there was a way that he could somehow at least begin to make amends with her, and the fact that they're working together and partnering up, I kind of wish this could be it. Maybe heal the relationship and heal the family somehow, but in the meantime, I say, let's let Summer have a good time. Let's let Summer try on wedding dresses and get caught up in the idea of the ceremony and pretend for just a moment that she has decent taste in men, because we all know that this girl has a tendency to fall for guys who are liars and users, at current boyfriend, no exception. I'm enjoying at least the journey, though. I thought that wedding dress shopping was really fun. We are back at the old Restless Style building. It's been so long since we've seen that set. Supposedly that's where Chelsea Lawson Designs is. So Chloe and Chelsea are there with their designs ready to show Summer wedding dresses, and Mariah is even kind of there to throw in her 2 cents, and Phyllis comes to try to support her daughter on this day and having champagne, and Sharon works there too, so she's there. So it's just like this big girl fest back at the old Restless Style building, which we haven't seen in forever, so that was fun. I loved just hearing the women talk and bond. It's another thing that we've talked about, that it just doesn't seem like there are any good girl friendships. The women on the show don't really interact except if they're fighting over the same guy. So it was nice to just see these ladies in the same room together, taking it back. I mean, they were like talking about old stuff, going through some more history of the show. Yet another element of the current Y&R regime, bringing in the history and showing us that they know this show and reminding us veteran viewers. I mean, they know that a lot of their fans have been watching this show for a long time. So bringing in those little elements of past relationships and past storylines it's just nothing but delightful for us longer time viewers, and it educates the people maybe who haven't been able to see the show for as long as we have. It kind of is like, oh, I never kind of really knew that those people had that connection. So I just think that was such a cool little scene. I liked seeing the women swap their own wedding stories, and just acknowledging the history that's in the room between those people. Sharon and Phyllis actually actually being in the same room and not wanting to kill each other. Sharon and Summer, who had the last time Summer was getting married, Sharon was very there for Summer, and it was a time when Phyllis couldn't be. And so I was glad that that relationship was acknowledged. Just on a side note, anybody else notice that Sharon seemed to have pink eye? It looked painful, whatever it is. It seems like every so often, and they do it on The Bold and the Beautiful too, a couple of the actors will show up with pink eye. I don't know why. Is that a problem? Maybe because of the shared spaces and the makeup elements and all of that. I don't know what it is, but Jack tends to get it a lot too. Peter Bergman always has a recurring eye thing, but I was surprised to see it on Sharon. I hope she's okay and recovering, because I'm sure that's not fun to have. I'm assuming it was pink eye. She had a red spot on her eye. But I also kind of just liked Chloe talking to. She had to take a moment to make it all about herself and how she gifted her wedding. And even talking to Sharon, Sharon and Chloe sort of had this moment of, hey, you know, us ladies that have been in the mental institution, you know, we've both been to Fairview. That was kind of a fun moment. But Mariah took the cake. I mean, if we're talking about wedding stories, Mariah had to say, hey, have any of you ever been like kidnapped by a cult leader who you thought of as your father and forced in, like drugged and forced into a marriage? Yeah, I would say that she really has the top story of horror wedding stories. I mean, you think it's bad that your wedding didn't happen? Well, her wedding was worse, no doubt about it. It was a lot of fun. It almost just makes me wish that this wedding was for real and that we could continue to see scenes like this. But because, like, the thing is, sometimes Luca is so charming and he seems to love Summer so much, and then he writes a press release to announce his own engagement. It's like I want to like him, and then he does something so incredibly smarmy that he makes it impossible. Victor takes a page from the book of Jill this week, and he lures Luca to his office with tequila and sends him on this fake mission to find out who's behind the oil spill. We're still on that. And Luca is also still insisting that it's Travis. He's insisted that it's Travis all along. And Victor tells him, yeah, you go ahead and you run with it. Victor's basically just setting him up. Apparently, Luca has a tracking device attached to Travis, who is sailing around on his boat. I wonder if he's ever gonna come back. I think it's possible, but I haven't heard anything to confirm that. If you have, let me know. But he's tracking him, and it just seems like, meanwhile, I don't think that Travis is actually the one behind all of this, but I'm not entirely convinced that it's Luca either. Nick is on the hunt. He's actually been out of town trying to find some evidence against Luca, trying to find out the real story about what happened during the oil spill, and he comes into the scene on Monday's show saying that he has some more info on it, but it may not be what they think. So part of me just wonders if Luca's not behind it. I don't know. I'm tired of trying to predict what the heck the end of this storyline is. My main question is there any chance that this wedding is actually gonna happen? Maybe you guys can tell me what you think. Will Summer and Luca ever actually really get married? Is there any chance that there is an 11,000th episode wedding in our future? That would be kind of a good reason to bring everybody back to the recently restored Chancellor Mansion for a good old wedding. You know, Catherine would love that. Or who knows, maybe Summer and Luca will plan to have the wedding on the 11,000th episode at the Chancellor Mansion, and Billy and Victoria will end up taking it over as a hand-me-down wedding after Luca runs away in disgrace. Last week's poll results. Would you like to see Billy and Victoria reunited? Very close split on the vote. 53% said no reunion necessary. 47% said, yeah, let's hook Billy and Victoria up again. I'm surprised it was that close. I think there is a very strong camp of Phyllis and Billy supporters and a very strong camp of Victoria and Billy supporters. I think it's gonna take some work to get me fully on board with Billy and Victoria, mostly because if I felt like Phyllis and Billy had come to an understanding that the affair was wrong and it's never going to work out, and if they had sort of a zen moment over it where they both decided as adults to just move on, put the hotness behind them, then I think I could feel like I'm on board with Victoria and Billy 100% because they're very cute. I mean, Victoria and Billy are being all cute all over the office all week, but a man does not just forget about Phyllis Summers overnight. Billy is not just going to let Phyllis fade out in his mind. It's just impossible, apparently. There was a really, really great fantasy scene where Victoria is pitching an idea for, I guess, either like a commercial or just a general vibe for Brash and Sassy, and she's describing this very sensual, sexy woman taking Brash and Sassy perfume and putting it on her body and between her breasts, and she's in front of a flowy window and the breeze is blowing in her hair, and as Victoria is creating this idea, this scene of just a faceless woman, Billy is taking the liberty of putting the face on the woman, and the face is Phyllis. He imagines Phyllis doing all of these things, and then it just turns into a romance scene where they're kissing together. It was a gorgeous, gorgeous sequence. It was very softly filmed. There was a lot of like fogginess, and it was like this blue light behind them, and it was really very lovely, but it was just a fantasy. It's just that. It's not happening at this point. And I guess the other thing is, much like Mariah with the Kevin situation, I feel like Victoria deserves a man who's fully devoted to her. So even as Victoria and Billy are being really cute in the office, the fact that he's thinking about another woman kind of spoils it for me. In fact, I know this is never going to happen, and I probably wouldn't want it to happen in reality, but this week Kane found out that Victoria's working for the company. He had no clue, but he comes in and sees Victoria sitting behind his desk, and he's not really happy about it. There was definitely some tension between Victoria and Kane, and I thought to myself, what about Victoria and Kane? I mean, I would be all heartbroken if he and Lily broke up, but at the same time, I like mixing the couples up too, and Victoria and Kane would be kind of interesting. I wonder how much, like, that would be one of those surprise couplings, much in the same way as Victoria and Billy, where you just wouldn't see it coming, but why not? What do you think? In a world of no consequences, let's just say a fantasy episode, do you think Kane and Victoria would have a little bit of chemistry? I just think it could be interesting, a surprise romance. But anyway, Phyllis learns that Billy and Victoria are working closely together, and she should love this. It gives her the opportunity that she's been forced to look for to push Billy away. I mean, frankly, Phyllis would be with Billy right now if Jill hadn't forced her hand, but instead Billy's like off giving Jack advice on how to keep his wife satisfied. That was awkward. I felt really bad for Jack. It was definitely an overstep on Billy's part, and Victoria might be falling back in love with a man who she doesn't really even know anymore. That's, I think, what bugs me the most about Billy and Victoria at this point, is I feel like what happened between Billy and Phyllis was so reshaping of both of the characters, both of their personalities, and specifically Billy, that I don't think Victoria really knows who she's getting anymore. I don't think that the Billy she married is the same Billy that we're looking at right now. So I'm not, it's gonna take some work to get me there. I'm not 100% sold personally. I'm kind of thinking maybe Victoria should have gotten like one good night's sleep after her smooth rum buzz bender when she agreed to take the job. She may have just gone home, like taken a shower, had a good night's sleep, and come back and then given her answer about working with Brash and Sassy. I'm not sure if it's going to work out the best for her, or if it's even going to last. I mean, the other thing that bugs me is that Victoria goes to offer her resignation to Victor from Newman Enterprises, and he barely cared. Victoria has been nothing but a loyal soldier to Victor all of these years, and that doesn't matter in the least. It shouldn't be surprising to me, because do you remember how loyal, for instance, Neil and Michael were to him? They weren't family, so Victor was able to let them go, but Victoria and Nick, he should care that Victoria is leaving. I mean, all Victor has ever wanted for as long as I've known him is to have his children working by his side at the helm of Newman Enterprises, sharing the responsibility with his company. And now he's just willing to throw away that dream of Victoria and Nick working with him, just throw away Victoria and Nick in that relationship, period, and place all of his bets on Adam, who's in prison? It doesn't make any sense to me. Why can't Victor see that he's been given a millionth second chance here? Why does Victor have to be destined to end up this lonely old man? Last week's Who Said It quote might win the award, like the obviousness award, or the Captain Obvious award of the week. The quote was, "Sometimes I'm a little shady," and the answer was Chloe. She said this line as she was talking to Kevin. It was, I believe, as she was revealing, or they were talking about him not being Bella's father, and she was going on and on about how much she cares about Kevin, and she would never do that to him, and which the woman can be convincing. She can really lie and really make you believe it. That's why I still am not convinced completely that Kevin's not the father of Bella. But she's going on and she's telling him, look, I know that I can do some bad things. Sometimes I'm a little shady, but I wouldn't do that to you, Kevin. I mean, she makes everybody feel like they're the one that she would never betray, when she's probably betraying everybody. I thought it was a really great and obvious line. I was surprised only 7 people got that one right. Maybe it was too obvious, because truly, really truly, anyone in Genoa City could have said it, because they're all shady. But here are the 7 folks who did get it right. Sandra, Fox Rocks, Troy, Dylan, Jasmine, Jen, and Samantha. Thank you guys for your entries, and congratulations to you who got it right. I've got a new one for you this week. No more picturing me naked. That's the quote. No more picturing me naked. Do you think you know who said that? I think it's a good one. At any given time, feel free to tell anybody to stop picturing you naked. YRchat.com is where you can leave your guess. If you think you know who said no more picturing me naked, you can go there, leave your guess, 1 per person, please. And if you get it right, then you'll get a big congratulations on our next YNR chat. All right, let's get down to business with your comments. Henry left me a comment at yrchat.com saying, "What a great outdoor shot of Chancellor Park. Victor and Chloe's meeting was enhanced by such a beautiful sunny day in Genoa City. Allie, someone from the show must be viewing your website, because it was not that long ago that you mentioned the YNR outdoor scenes, or a lack of, versus Bold and the Beautiful. What a coincidence." Thank you, Henry, for noticing and thinking of me. A couple people I got comments from that were saying, finally, is YNR listening to us? These outdoor scenes are great. And, by the way, we got Phyllis and Billy in a follow-up scene at the outdoor version of Chancellor Park. It seemed a little less windy. I think that scene went a little better. But yes, I thought it was just absolutely fabulous. I know, Bold and the Beautiful gets these opportunities to film film outside, and it just always feels fresh, or I don't know, there's just something about it that really adds and enhances the scene. And Y&R, I gotta give you a big bravo for making it happen. Are they listening to us? I don't know. Daisy on Facebook says, I love that Neil has a secret about his parents. I hope they'll turn up. Then a new storyline will develop in regard to Neil. I wonder what the issue is. I also wonder if Lily will do some research to find out. It seems like something she'd do, but if that happens and she finds them, I wonder if it will be something Lily will regret. Yeah, Daisy, I'm so glad that you mentioned this, because there was this little, again, another beautiful sort of historic, funny scene this week where Charlie and Maddie are putting together a family tree project for school, and everybody's, from the Winters clan's kind of coming in and realizing how many branches the Winters family tree has. And Jill said something like, you might want to make a worm coming out of Genevieve's apple. I thought that was funny. It was really, really a cute way to acknowledge all of these families and all of this history. And of course, we had to realize that we don't know much about Neil. We really don't. In fact, it's wildly surprising to me that in all of these years, we've never explored Neil's parents. In the 90s, when we brought Malcolm on to be Neil's brother, that made sense. It's like, hey, can we bring on a sexy brother for any of these characters? Like, it's so easy for Y&R to bring on the young, sexy sibling of a current character, but we really don't always explore the backstories of where these people came from. And in all of these years, we don't know anything about Neil's parents. When Malcolm came on the show, can you guys remember them ever really saying anything about their parents? Because I can't, and I'm surprised I haven't really thought about it before. But yeah, I think we've just solved the mystery of who Lucinda is, who the Star Trek, the woman formerly from Star Trek that has been cast for a few episodes around number 11,000, I think, that is going to be coming on the show. I had theorized maybe it would be a relation to Hillary, but it looks like it's going to be maybe Neil's mom. I really wonder how far they're going to go with this. What is it going to reveal? As Daisy says, is it going to be Lily who maybe does the research and brings this woman into the fold and possibly regrets it? I mean, I would trust Neil on this, honestly. I think that if Neil has a feeling that his parents are no good, something bad must have happened there. It ain't gonna be a happy smile rainbow cloud time reunion for Neil, I don't think, anyway. Gary left me a voicemail this week who had kind of an interesting perspective. This was early in the week, and I don't know if you changed your mind, but Gary was theorizing that maybe this whole thing with Mariah and Kevin is just the beginning of their true love story, which I thought was interesting. That maybe in the process of Kevin kind of whining over Chloe and getting his heart stopped on again, that maybe these two will come together and finally see the sparks fly. I hadn't really thought about that, because the whole time when I'm watching the whole mess, I'm thinking there's just no way. These two people, this has to be the end. How much more can we take of this? But it is certainly possible, Gary, that that we'll start to see slowly them build up the relationship of Mariah and Kevin, and just kind of use maybe Kevin discovering, kind of how sleazy Chloe is as something for them to unite on. I also, by the way, Gary had mentioned that he liked the haircut on Chelsea, which I'm glad you said that, Gary, because I was thinking that her hair was looking particularly well cut. Her fashion is just so wonderful, and these several months back, she just always looks good. I like the shorter haircut on her. It looks like it got touched up or something, because the cuts were very precise. Also, Gary had asked a very good question that I thought maybe I would toss out to the Y&R chat crowd. Gary says, where did the name Chloe Mitchell come from? I mean, we all know that Chloe is Esther's daughter, Katie Valentine. That was her original name. I'm gonna take a stab at answering this. I think Chloe Mitchell is literally a name that Chloe just pulled out of a hat somewhere. She didn't want to be known as Esther's daughter or something. She felt after boarding school, I think she felt like Esther had abandoned her, and so she just took on this whole fake identity, which is another thing that we need to think about when we think about the character of Chloe and trusting her at all with this paternity thing. She is so shady to the max. She just decided to create this new identity for herself. As far as I remember, the name Chloe Mitchell is just something she came up with. She came back into town, started tripping up Kane and, getting involved with him. I think she tricked him into sleeping with her to make it look like he was the father of Delia instead of Billy, if my memory serves. But this is a woman who has a history of shadiness, and that's just part of it. If you guys remember that Chloe beginning storyline differently, or if I missed anything, please leave me a comment and let me know. Connor has a contrasting idea on the Chloe-Kevin relationship. At yrchat.com, Connor says, okay, I may be the only one who thinks this, but I'm secretly hoping Chloe and Kevin get back together. It's just like Billy and Victoria. There is a lot of chemistry. Granted, if when the truth comes out about Bella's paternity, it will crush Kevin. But at this point, I'm over whatever Kevin and Mariah are trying to build. Yes, I love them as best friends, but as lovers, no. It feels like I'm watching two siblings kiss. Not into it. Glad Natalie is gone. Never liked her anyway. Well, Connor, I think that's an interesting perspective, because it's like the Kevin and Mariah relationship just never seemed to want to take off. And I was all for them just remaining friends as long as Kevin made a decision. I wish that whatever Kevin and Mariah decide to do, it would just be mutual and it would be done. But you bring up that I can't help but mention, what's going to happen to Natalie? Is she just gone forever? I don't see a place on the landscape for her right now. I'm not seeing where they're going to be working her in. So has she just disappeared into the mist? Aaron on YouTube says, it was so hilarious how Kevin just dropped Natalie like a bad habit to suddenly get back with Chloe. Personally, I'd call it karma from Natalie cutting Mariah out of the millions of dollars she promised her if she'd help her and Kevin out with solving the Paragon project. Egg on her face, Aaron says. So maybe Natalie just got what was coming to her. Shelly at yrchat.com says, the scene with Billy and Victoria in the lab after her rum indulgence. So cute. I've not been a fan of Billy and Phyllis. Their story and chemistry just have not done it for me. I quite took to Jason Thompson as Billy from the start, but the deeper he got involved with Phyllis, the less I liked him. I thought I was just not a Billy fan anymore until that scene with Victoria. For me, Shelley says, those few moments had so much chemistry and just showed such comfort and history between the two. I loved it. I know, the chemistry, I think I agree, Shelley, that I feel a chemistry between those two actors. And I did initially when we did the recast. And it seemed like Billy and Victoria were going to kind of get together. And I thought that there was a chemistry between the two actors. And then he got involved with Phyllis, and the rest is history. Now, Edith disagrees. At yrchat.com, Edith says, I don't think they have great chemistry. I heard Travis is coming back, and I like Victoria with Travis much better. I want to get a beat on what's the status of Travis, Edith, because I heard that Mal Young has said, well, this is a break in his story. So maybe he is going to be coming back. Maybe Victoria will reunite with Travis. I thought that was an interesting relationship too. Sandra at yrchat.com says, it just doesn't seem like Billy and Victoria fit anymore. They've both changed and moved on in their own ways. And I have to agree with you, Sandra, in that way too, is that I think it's more Billy that's changed. I worry that Victoria is going to fall back in love with Billy, but she's going to realize that it's just not the same Billy. He seems like a totally different person. Zuperplex at yrchat.com says, I guess that ultimatum by Jack about never allowing Victor to get near Phyllis just flew out the window in only 1 week. I'm I'm glad you brought that up, Superplex, because Jack, he really has done so very little to defend Phyllis. I mean, he told Victor, like, just stay away from Phyllis. That's all I'm asking of you. And sure enough, 1 week later, Victor's right up in Phyllis's face proposing the alliance. So I can definitely see why Phyllis would not want to be involved with Victor, and I can see why maybe she feels a little bit unsupported by Jack, considering he doesn't support her very well sometimes. Beatrice left me a voicemail and said that she was really touched by seeing Connor visit Adam in prison. Beatrice says, I was fanning my eyes. She says that was the greatest day of the week for her. YNR showing us that family matters. Yes, I liked the scene too, Beatrice, and I was surprised when it turned so quickly afterwards. I knew he was going to be angry about it, but then everything seemed okay, and it was so touching, and I assumed that was where it was going to end. Oh, I have to mention, Jojo at yrchat.com left a comment saying, the twin actors who portray the 3-year-old Connor seem as though they don't really want to be there. They rarely smile, they rarely talk, and they're so non-expressive. I have to say, Jojo, I agree. I feel bad, but I was kind of glad somebody else said this, because I feel like those actors, the kids actors, are kind of distracting. Like, I want to get into, you know, this whole feeling of Adam, and I agree that the jail scenes on Connor's birthday were great, but I find myself, it's like, these kids, like, they're just not giving it to me. Like, we used to have these really great and expressive child actors, and it seems like the only thing this Connor has going for him, these little kids, are that they look vaguely like Adam. But I'll tell you, how about that older Connor, though? What'd you think about that actor who was playing Connor in the nightmare dream sequence? I thought he was pretty good. Anna left me a voicemail saying, I wish Dylan would be a private eye instead of a cop like Paul used to be. I love this idea, Anna, because we already have a cop in Paul. Paul's all the cop we need. Making Dylan a private eye would actually give more opportunity for Dylan and Paul, I would think, to work together on cases instead of all of this tension that's between them. Jamie left me a voicemail saying, is Victor framing Luca a fair punishment for Luca? Or is it just more diabolical plotting from Victor? Where is Victor's redemption? I keep waiting for it, Jamie says. Victor always has a justification for everything he's done. And for as much as I want to love the man, and I do, it's another instance of me always remembering the character the way I initially got impressed by them. I mean, Victor was a hero to me when I first started watching, and so he's always kind of the hero to me in the back of my mind, despite the fact that he's a villain more often than not. I don't think it's necessarily fair to frame Luca, and if he does go through with framing Luca, I think it's going to end up that Luca actually had absolutely nothing to do with it. I wouldn't be surprised if Luca was completely innocent, honestly. I just keep waiting for that twist, and I'm also waiting for Nikki's world to come crashing down when she realizes what her husband has really been up to. Justin left me a voicemail and he says, come on, Nikki. Is it really hard to believe that the same guy who kidnapped somebody and replaced them with a dangerous lookalike would frame his own son for murder? I'll give you, that's the good zing of the week, Justin. I mean, I think Nikki is just sitting oblivious at this point, and it's not going to turn out well for her. By the way, Justin, who gave us the Seek and Find puzzle last week, gave us a new Seek and Find word puzzle this week. It's all Young and the Restless related, and this week's edition of the Seek and Find is a throwback edition. So all of the words that you're finding on the puzzle are words from the past. Here, I'll show you mine. I printed it out, and you just go through and circle the names that you see at the bottom. I'm not done yet. I still got a few to find, but I was happy to see Glowworm on there. For some reason, that one really got me. Leanna, you guys remember Leanna Love? You put Ricky on there. You know he's one of my favorites. Let's see what we got. Snapper, we got Lori for the Wayback Machine, Drusilla, Ryan, oh my gosh, Ryan McNeil, oh, these are so good, Sky, Sage, oh, you're killing me. Wherever you are listening to or watching my inner chat this week, I will make sure there is a link to the throwback version of the Young and the Restless Seek and Find puzzle, courtesy of Justin this week. I think those are really fun. Sandra said she printed out last week's and she did it, so I'm still working on mine for this week, but I hope you guys download those. They're a lot of fun. All right, you guys, I gotta get going, but I hope you had fun chatting with me about this week's show and that you keep your comments coming. YRChat.com is where you can leave your blog text comments. From there, you can also find the Facebook and YouTube links, podcast links, wherever you want to leave text comments. I'm totally reading them. I don't check Twitter as often as I used to, in fact, kind of never, so sorry if anybody's messaging me there. It's just like so many places to check, but mostly where I'm looking is YRChat.com, Facebook, and YouTube for text comments, and of course my favorite, voicemail comments, which you can leave at 309-588-4569. I love hearing from you guys. You're the best, and I'm excited about next week's show. We'll see where we are with all the drama next Sunday. So come back and we'll chat then. Bye, guys.